Bonjour à tous, bienvenue pour ces premières rencontres Olympus dans ce nouvel espace reconfiguré. Vous aurez la joie, jour après jour, matin et après-midi, de vous déplacer sous l'ombrage des platanes, l'après-midi de vous retrouver de l'autre côté. Mais c'est un rendez-vous que vous connaissez bien, puisque depuis plusieurs années, avec 9 ans, avec la complicité plus qu'active de Olympus, avec les talents de Natacha Wolinski, nous animons, et de Damien Sausset qui est là, qui l'après-midi sera aux commandes. Nous proposons un certain nombre de rencontres avec les artistes de la programmation, avec des thématiques qui concernent la photographie, et ces moments d'échange et de discussion, j'imagine, vous permettent de vous relaxer avant de réattaquer la programmation massive cette année des 40 expositions qui vous sont proposées à travers la ville. Une fois de plus, c'est un plaisir d'accueillir à Fanton Olympus. Je vais passer dans un instant la parole à Didier Quilin, son président, et un grand plaisir d'avoir Andrés Serrano parmi nous, dont vous allez découvrir que cette année, son travail jalonne à la fois l'exposition consacrée à la représentation médiatique vue par les artistes du 11 septembre 2001, exposition qui se trouve au Capitole. Son dernier travail, lui, est présenté à la Fondation Lambert à Avignon, et c'est l'une des petites nouveautés de ce programme cette année, sous le label Grand Arles Express. Vous savez que les rencontres d'Arles se délocalisent le temps d'une exposition à Nîmes, à Avignon et à Marseille. Et puis surtout, c'est vendredi soir, en majesté, que nous accueillerons dans l'enceinte du théâtre antique Andrés Serrano pour une performance. Il viendra se raconter en images dans ce lieu chargé de mémoire et d'images, surtout pour cette soirée. Voilà. Je vous remercie. La parole à Didier Quilin et très vite à Natacha Wolinski et à Andrés Serrano. Merci.
Merci. Je voudrais commencer, d'abord vous accueillir tous, vous dire qu'on est heureux à nouveau de se retrouver ici dans l'espace Fanton pour les conversations Olympus. Et je voudrais commencer par un petit clin d'œil, parce que quand nous avons démarré ces rencontres, ces conversations, il y a 9 ans, c'était avec Sam. C'est Sam qui les animait. Nous étions à l'Arlatan avec, comme cette année, une rencontre le matin et une rencontre l'après-midi. Ce programme de la semaine, on l'a fait en complicité totale, comme d'habitude, avec l'équipe des rencontres, avec Sam, avec Natacha et Damien, et on va vous emmener jusqu'à samedi après-midi au travers de ce monde de la photographie tel que vous pouvez le découvrir cette année ici à Arles. Voilà, donc très bonne semaine, et puis on va passer la parole à Natacha. Merci.
Non, je suis pas assez forte, c'est ça? J'ai une petite voix, c'est pour ça que je poserai la question toujours préventivement. C'est bon? Très bien. Alors, Andrés Serrano, à mes côtés, s'entête depuis 30 ans à montrer ce que l'on ne veut pas voir, ce que l'on cache, ce que l'on rejette, qu'il s'agisse de représenter un corps social, comme les sans-abri de New York, ou bien un corps organique, comme les victimes de morts violentes à la morgue. Il est toujours question de représenter ce qui est considéré comme irreprésentable, y compris ce qui n'a pas de corps, la foi, le sentiment du divin. Et donc dans le cadre de l'exposition de groupe Nothing But Blue Skies, qui fait un retour sur l'imagerie du 11 septembre, il présente America, une série de portraits qui reflète la diversité de la population américaine. C'est une série qu'il a réalisée après le 11 septembre 2001. C'est une de ces séries sans doute les plus élégiaques, les plus apaisées. À la collection Lambert en Avignon, Andrés Serrano présente au contraire une exposition très dérangeante sur le thème de la torture. Pour ceux qui ne l'ont pas encore vu, on y trouve des photos d'objets et de machines de torture depuis le Moyen-Âge. On y trouve des photos de lieux symboliques de la torture, comme des camps de la mort ou des bureaux d'interrogatoire, ceux de la Stasi. Et on trouve surtout des images qui reconstituent des séances de torture qui ont eu lieu dans le camp de Guantanamo ou dans la prison d'Abu Ghraib. Et toutes ces photographies sont mises en écho avec des œuvres de Goya. L'ensemble, vous l'imaginez, constitue une exposition très impressionnante, très insoutenable parfois, ce qui m'amène, Andrés Serrano, à vous poser d'emblée ma première question. Andrés, visiter une de vos expositions, c'est toujours une expérience, c'est parfois même une épreuve. Est-ce que vous en avez conscience?
Well, I try to consider the audience in the sense that I want to give them a show. You know, ultimately, the artist is more than just a presenter of work. He has to become an entertainer. He has to inform the audience. He has to engage the audience. And so I try to engage people in more than one ways, emotionally, visually, intellectually. So in that sense, you know, I try to deliver a good show.
Alors ça m'amène à deux questions. La première, c'est sur beaucoup de vos photos, des hommes et des femmes souffrent. Est-ce qu'il s'agit de mettre le spectateur lui-même en souffrance? Ça, c'est la première question.
Oh, it went dead. Now I can, yeah. No, I think on the contrary, I have to suffer the most. I'm the one who has to go into the morgue and look at dead people and smell death. I'm the one who has to smell the piss and work with the piss and with the shit. You know, shit was very difficult for me because I don't like shit. Who does? And so in a way, I feel like the audience has the easy part. They just have to look at it without the smells.
Oui, voilà.
Okay. Oh, good, thank you.
Alors, moi je dis que le spectateur, c'est pas si facile que ça, mais ce que ça sous-tend comme questionnement aussi, c'est que finalement, effectivement, quand vous parlez de show, nous sommes en position de spectateur, et on est en position de spectateur face à un théâtre qui est vraiment un théâtre macabre. Et je me souviens qu'au Moyen-Âge, les séances de torture, les pendaisons, étaient des spectacles. Et on sait que les photos d'Abu Ghraib, elles circulaient entre les mains des soldats américains et elles constituaient une sorte de motif d'amusement entre eux. Donc, est-ce que, effectivement, ces photos, ça nous renvoie aussi à un besoin malsain que nous avons de voir le mal et la souffrance? Une sorte de jeu du cirque, et une sorte de voyeurisme aussi. Du spectateur, hein, j'entends.
Well, I don't know if it's healthy or unhealthy, but we are definitely living in a world of spectators. Everybody wants to see something, you know. They're attuned, you know, people can't feel comfortable just walking down the street anymore. They got to be looking at their iPhones, looking at messages, looking at pictures. So we need the constant bombardment of stimuli, visual stimuli especially. And so, but I think the artist, you know, is just a small part of that stimulation. In the case of my own work, though, I feel that, you know, I try to make pretty pictures, but if they were just pretty pictures of flowers, nobody would care or want them. You know, I love to do pictures of children and kittens and puppies, but no one wants that from me. They want something stronger. They want something controversial. And even though I don't feel the need to be controversial, you know, I'm just being myself, I am aware that the ante is sort of, you know, there's more expectations of my work than from others. And so I have to deliver not only pretty pictures, but also pictures with a punch.
Andrés, on est parti très vite. Peut-être qu'on peut quand même revenir au début, c'est-à-dire comment a commencé ce projet sur la torture?
torture began many years ago, in 2005, when I was asked by the New York Times Magazine to do Abu Ghraib type images for the magazine. And I did a few, including one that was used as the cover. It's a picture of a hooded man done in 2005, and it's a recreation done in the studio. So, but I didn't pursue torture as a topic until last year when I was approached by a man named Andrei Tetrakov, a Russian collector who has based in London, who has an organization called Apolitical, which likes to fund socially engaged projects. And so he asked me, is there something you would like to do that we can help you with? And I said, well, you know, I think I want to do something on torture. And so thanks to Apolitical's help, and it was a great help because I spent 3 months last year during the summer, you know, during all of summer, going to about 8 countries, 16 cities, doing this work. So, you know, it was because someone invited me to do it that I was able to do it, because nowadays, you know, when I was young, I could take a couple of pictures a day for about $25. Now, when I shoot something, you know, it's costing me thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. And so it's nice to know why I'm doing it, and it's even nicer when I have some help to do it.
Au moment où vous avez, je crois, démarré cette série, je pense que c'était fin 2014, début 2015, il y avait une polémique aux États-Unis. Il me semble que c'était à la suite de la publication d'un rapport à la commission, d'un rapport de la commission du renseignement du Sénat sur les techniques d'interrogatoire de la CIA. Et cette commission a commencé à s'intéresser au sujet quand elle a appris la destruction de vidéos qui montraient des détenus subissant le supplice de la baignoire. Et est-ce que cette polémique, qui a été très importante aux États-Unis, a contribué à vous donner envie de faire cette série, ce travail?
I have to say no. You know, oftentimes when I approach a subject, for instance, a few years ago I was invited by the Jerusalem Foundation to do some work in Israel. And they, along with the Mizrahi School of Photography, allowed me to do this body of work in Israel. I bought some books on Israel, on Palestine, that I meant to read, even took them with me on the plane, but eventually I didn't read them. You know, I just went in there and I investigated and researched Israel and Palestine for myself through my work. It's the same thing. A few years ago I went to Cuba to do some work in Cuba. I had a film crew following me, and the minute I got there, the following day, I said, I'm going to go to this location at 6 in the morning. They said, are you going to do some research there? I said, no, I'm going to shoot. So I'm the sort of person, I see myself as an outsider. When I photographed the Klan, they asked me, do you know much about the Klan? I said, not really. When I went into a morgue, the man in charge of the morgue asked me, have you seen dead people before? I said, not really. I always like to go there as the outsider, you know, because I identify with the audience who's also the outsider. And so I like to go as the outsider, discovering what's obvious to me. And sometimes it's not obvious to the people it should be obvious to.
Alors, vous dites que vous êtes un outsider et que vous faites les choses finalement à l'instinct, mais en même temps, quand on regarde votre exposition, on a le sentiment qu'il y a un énorme travail de préparation et que c'est extrêmement pensé. Je voudrais peut-être qu'on reprenne les grandes parties de votre exposition. Ça démarre quand on entre dans les salles, sur les objets de torture. Ce sont des masques, des machines de torture médiévales. Où est-ce que vous les avez trouvés? Et il me semble, si j'ai bien compris le texte, que certains ont été refabriqués.
Well, yes, when I investigate, I throw myself into that investigation and I do it thoroughly. I mean, one thing that I do is I shoot a lot. You know, I think I must have shot a couple of thousand rolls of film in Cuba, in Jerusalem, doing the torture. So I tend to shoot non-stop. And it's true, most of the torture instruments in torture museums around the world, including Amsterdam and other places, they're fake. They're reproductions, they look good, but they're fake. However, there's a collection of medieval objects that I photographed in Chillingham Castle in England that are the real thing. And the irony about those objects is that they're actually quite beautiful because they're medieval, they have the patina of age, they were well done, they look decorative, beautiful, sometimes it's just a beautiful mask, but you have to remember that these were instruments of torture. The masks, for instance, you know, they were very confining, they're metal, sometimes those masks had things going into your mouth, you know, maybe even your eyes. And so some of these, you know, instruments that I photographed that looked very, in a way, like precious, like sculptures, they're actually very evil instruments.
C'est parce que justement ils sont beaux que vous les avez pris en plan resserré, parce qu'ils sont vraiment en gros plan, hein, ces instruments. Ce qui n'est pas le cas de toutes les images.
Well, as an artist, you know, and I've developed so much over the last 25 years, but one of the things I've learned as an artist who uses photography as his only art practice, you know, sometimes it's not what you put into the picture, but it's what you take out. And so I'm very fond of shooting close-up sometimes, particularly with those instruments. I felt like, you know, they're more beautiful close-up than further away. But that, as I mentioned earlier, that's the contradiction, the dichotomy in my work, is that visually it's really not upsetting, but when you look at it and you think about what it is, you know, what these instruments did, like one of them is called a pear, and you know, it goes into your openings. It could be your vagina, it could be your mouth, it could be your asshole, you know, but it's got this very nice name, the pear, and when you look at it, it doesn't look that frightening, but it is when you think about what it does. And so there's the dichotomy of my work, and I feel the strength of it sometimes is that it's a pretty picture, but it's a pretty picture of what?
C'est la même chose qu'on constate souvent avec les photos des armes. Les armes, c'est très beau aussi. C'est très fascinant. Les armes de guerre.
Well, the Objects of Desire, the gun series that I did, I did because of the fact that you know, people see guns. The gun collectors that I met with guns, whose guns I photographed, they treat them like precious objects. You know, they treat them like art. You know, they're very careful to wipe the fingerprints, and so it's almost like you know, they're paying homage to them in a fetishistic way. And I chose to photograph those guns as in a very abstract or you know, very simple, direct way. But I call them objects of desire to indicate that to those people who own them, they're treasured objects like art. And I have to say, I think there was something interesting because all the gun collectors I met were men. You know, I'm sure there are women gun collectors out there too, but I think there's something a little bit phallic about the gun obsession. Especially when you compare who's got the biggest guns.
Andrés, quand on poursuit votre exposition, la deuxième partie est consacrée aux lieux. Les lieux où ont lieu la torture. Donc il y a des photos des bureaux d'interrogatoire de la Stasi. Est-ce qu'il y a dans votre exposition, je ne me souviens plus, les camps de la mort aussi? Ils sont dans le livre, ça c'est évident, mais dans l'exposition j'ai un doute, je ne sais plus. Vous allez me dire. En tous les cas, contrairement au gros plan et au cadrage très serré retenu pour photographier donc les objets, tout d'un coup vous avez fait le choix de plans larges, de bâtiments vides. Comment vous avez fait ce double choix?
Well, a lot of times the subject itself determines how I'm going to photograph it. In the case of, say, the Stasi concentration camps or interrogation rooms of East Germany, I needed to photograph the whole room. I needed to photograph the whole corridor, the gates. And these are very interesting rooms because, you know, they all look alike. I photographed 16 rooms, I think. And even though the furniture is different and the rooms are rearranged differently, there's a sameness about all the pictures. And it's interesting because sometimes I feel that, I'm not doing work that I feel is of the moment. I'm doing work that is of interest to me. But a lot of times I find that there's some resonance in the culture of my work. For instance, after I did my work in Stasi, which is, Stasi is the interrogation camp in East Germany that held thousands of prisoners, for years, who were accused of being communists, Jews, or, whatever. Just after I did my work, I saw a film called A Bridge of Spies with Tom Hanks. And there they also photographed, they filmed in the Stasi interrogation camp. And so I saw some shots that were, obviously we did the same corridor from the same angle. So sometimes I feel like the work that I do for myself on a personal level resonates outside the studio, in the outside world.
Mais quand vous allez dans des lieux comme ceux-ci, en plus je pense que c'était la première fois pour vous, que ce soit les camps de la mort de Dachau, de Mauthausen, de Buchenwald, que ce soit les bureaux de la Stasi, est-ce qu'effectivement on se pose la question de la juste place? Parce que finalement c'est la façon dont on se place dans le lieu qui détermine la façon dont on se place devant l'histoire, d'une certaine façon.
Well, in terms of the camps, which, it attracts a lot of people who are, paying homage to the dead, but there's a lot of tourists. And when I say tourists, I mean people like, people with cameras, people on vacation, people who made it a point to go to a point of interest. And so there's a lot of tourism in these camps, and there's a lot of people going back and forth. So oftentimes I had to find a position for only a few seconds sometimes where I can get a shot without people in it. Because, I'm there as the outsider, the intruder, so they have more of a right to be there. So I have to respect that right. And so I would have to wait a long time sometimes for a room that was crowded with 20 people to actually be empty for a few seconds. And, I have to say, because it's important for me, that that I still shoot film. That all my work, I need assistance, I need lights, and flash, but also I need film, I need a tripod. And so it's like, I'm not a point and shoot guy, I'm not a digital guy, I do it the old-fashioned way.
Est-ce que c'était la première fois que vous alliez dans ces camps?
Yes, it was, because, I have no interest in going anywhere except for work. I really don't travel much on my own, but I travel a lot for work, So I've been to a lot of places, but also always for a reason. An exhibition, a lecture, to do some work. And so everything that I discovered, that's why I say, when I went to Jerusalem, when I go anywhere, I'm discovering the place for myself, but I'm also creating a work of art, a body of work at the same time.
Arles, la troisième partie de l'exposition est sans doute la plus difficile pour le spectateur et pour vous, tel que vous l'avez dit tout à l'heure, et c'est donc les reconstitutions de scènes de torture. Voilà. Autant les photos de lieux sont finalement des images assez allusives, puisque ce sont des bâtiments vides le plus souvent, autant les images de reconstitution sont d'un réalisme très très insoutenable. C'est peut-être la première question qu'on se pose, c'est qui sont les personnes finalement qui posent pour vous? Ces hommes, parce que ce sont... Est-ce qu'il y a des femmes? Je ne suis pas sûre qu'il n'y ait aucune femme.
I photographed all men except for one woman.
Une femme, oui.
But,
mais pas en situation de torture, la femme. La femme...
She was on something called The Horse, and I saw a picture of it. It's a medieval contraption where it's like it's got a point, And so the woman was meant to, or man could, they positioned you there, and then they put weights on your feet, and that it's a wedge that would go into your crotch. So it was for men and women, but I put a woman on that. But that was the only woman picture. But basically, my models were, first and foremost, the people who worked at the Foundry. The Foundry is this place in Marbouguet, France, where I did many of the recreations, all of them. And the Foundry is owned by an artist named Andrei Malotkin, who works with Apolitical. And they had the intention of inviting artists to do artist in residence projects at the Foundry, which is a real foundry, munitions foundry from World War I. And so I was the first artist to be invited to be there to do some work. And so I used the Foundry, took advantage of the dirt and the objects in disarray and decay that were there for many years. But also took advantage of Andrei Malotkin's workers, who built sets for me, who built objects for me. There were about 5 or 6 workers, so I used the workers. I also used the people of Marbouguet, who were very happy to volunteer for me. And of course, I pay everyone, I pay all my models. But a lot of times, I think people do it not for the money, but because they want to be involved. They're happy to be part of an art project. And in terms of the recreations of torture, I have to say, even though it's all make-believe, they're reenactments, it's not real torture. I could, take the chains off any time. I could get them off their knees any time. And still, they had to hold positions for fairly long lengths of time, whether it was 10, 15, 20 minutes, and it became stressful. So even when you're pretending to be torturing someone, you could actually be torturing them physically. And so that's the interesting part, that even make-believe torture is torture, can be torture, torturous.
On va revenir sur cette question. Je voudrais juste effectivement préciser pour l'Assemblée que les images effectivement ont été produites dans la fonderie de Maubourguet. En fait, c'est près de Toulouse. C'est une ancienne usine métallurgique qui produisait des armes et des équipements militaires pour la défense nationale. Voilà, et donc qui appartient maintenant à un collectionneur russe, un artiste russe. On parlait donc des personnages qui sont sur les images. Et vous avez reconstitué les images à la fonderie parce que pour une grande partie, vous ne pouviez pas les faire sur place. Ou si vous aviez pu les faire en Syrie ou en Irak, vous l'auriez fait.
Well, first of all, I just want to say the two Andres are two different Andres. Andrei Malotkin is the artist, the Russian artist, and Tetrikov is the Russian collector. I just want to make that distinction. But yes, it's not real torture. I'm an artist. I'm not a documentary photographer. I'm not a photojournalist. It's not photo reportage. Sure, I could ask ISO if I could go over there and photograph them with the torturers is not appealing to me. And besides, I would not want to be an accomplice. And I would be an accomplice just by being there photographing real torture and death. So, but as an artist, I use my imagination. And so the idea, that's why I didn't go to Syria. That's why I have no interest in going to anywhere except to the studio or to the places where I create a studio. And I often do that. I make the morgue the studio. I make the Foundry my studio. I make the streets my studio when I photograph the homeless. And so my studio is wherever I am.
Vous avez choisi de reconstituer des photos historiques, on va en parler, mais vous avez surtout choisi de reconstituer des photos plus récentes, celles de Guantanamo en Irak et celle de Abu Ghraib. Et il se trouve que les tortionnaires étaient américains. Est-ce que c'est quelque chose qui était important pour vous de revenir à la torture américaine en tant qu'Américain vous-même?
Which torture was American?
Les soldats américains, aussi bien de Guantanamo que de Abu Ghraib.
I actually, I didn't go to Guantanamo, but I did photograph a guy who wrote a book about torture. He's a former CIA agent. He wrote a book about torture, and he faced a lot of scrutiny and got help from the U.S. government. They were trying to, send him up for treason. He got, I think, a year or two of house detention, but he wound up having to spend like almost $1 million defending himself, even though he didn't go to prison. But he wrote a book on torture, acknowledging that the CIA and the U.S. government had been involved in torture.
Alors, je répète ma question peut-être autrement. Est-ce qu'il était important pour vous de mettre en scène des scènes de torture qui avaient été commises par les Américains, vous en tant que citoyen américain?
Very persistent. Well, I feel very American, I have to say. I'm an American artist, and I reflect the American experience for me. And so I wasn't thinking necessarily of American torture, but of course, because I wasn't specifically thinking of who the torturer is or who the tortured are. But of course, America is compliant with that. America is known for torture. I think they're probably pretty good at it. I would hope. Because but I don't know. I think there's torture everywhere. I think even the English, the French, everybody tortures.
Ah mais ça on est d'accord, tout le monde le fait. Ce qui peut être étonnant, c'est que vous vous concentriez autant justement sur les Américains. Alors il y a également la fameuse scène historique des prisonniers de l'IRA. Pourquoi vous avez choisi cette scène historique-là? Il y a beaucoup de scènes historiques de torture et de prisonniers qui ont été torturés. Celle-là, c'était quelque chose qui était dans votre mémoire à vous? Vous pouvez peut-être raconter cette histoire-là, que tout le monde ne connaît pas.
Well, actually a couple of weeks before embarking on my trip to England to start on the torture project, someone who I hadn't heard from in more than 25 years, just emailed me. And she actually mentioned something about the hooded men of Ireland, these guys who had been taken prisoner in the 70s by the British authorities, tortured and then placed in hoods the entire time of their confinement. They were in these black hoods and never knew where they were because the hoods were completely black, they couldn't see anything. And so the hooded men, they were originally 14 guys accused of being IRA terrorists. And now there's only 5 left because they've died over the years. And 4 of them are engaged in a legal battle with the British authorities. And Amal Clooney, George Clooney's wife, is their representative because she's a human rights lawyer. So I heard 2 weeks before embarking on the torture series, I heard about the hooded men, and so I made, I asked Apolitical to make contact and to arrange a meeting. And so when I met the hooded men, I think they expected me to take normal portraits of them, but I'm not a normal guy, and so I'm a conceptual artist, and so it was more interesting for me to photograph these men as the hooded men. So I gave them black hoods to put over their heads, and I think they were a little surprised, but I talked them into it, and it's not really a matter of me having to talk people into stuff, it's just me explaining the project, explaining what I want to do, and then they decide, and they usually decide, okay, he's okay, I'm going to do this. And so they, with some trepidation, put the hoods on and allowed me to take the pictures as the hooded men. And so, that's the thing. Sometimes in my work, you don't know what's real or not real. When I photographed the Ku Klux Klan, they're actually real Klansmen, And so in the case of the hooded men, they're real hooded men. They're the real guys. And the only thing that lets you know who they are is that the title of the photograph is the person's name. And so that's why I've always, titles for me are very important, because in my work, the title completes the picture or the work of art.
Je suis contente, André Serrano, que vous fassiez le parallèle entre la série des Hooded Men et celle du Ku Klux Klan, parce que justement, dans un cas, il s'agit de victimes, les Hooded Men, les gars de l'IRA, et dans l'autre cas, il s'agit quand même de tortionnaires, le Ku Klux Klan. Et ce qui est frappant finalement, c'est qu'ils ont droit au même traitement esthétique, et c'est particulièrement frappant. Et du coup, est-ce que vous vous abstenez de tout jugement, de toute réprobation? Est-ce que tout le monde est sur le même plan?
Absolutely. You know, I feel that, you know, I'm the messenger. I'm not the message. And my work functions as a mirror so that you see more of yourself in the work than you see of me. I have my opinions about politics, about religion, about everything, but I normally keep them to myself, you know. And but I like to present what I see, you know, in terms of the world around me, and let you figure out how you want to deal with it. I gotta say, I got a show now at the Royal Museum of Belgium in Brussels. It's the biggest exhibition of my life, and it's called Uncensored Photographs by Serrano. And so with that title in mind, I thought, well, I'm not going to censor myself. There's an image that I once took in 2004 for my America series that I never showed. And I thought, well, now is the time to show it, you know? And the portrait is a portrait of Donald Trump, looking very presidential, I must say. And so, you know, and I feel like, you know, I'm just showing you Trump. How you feel about him is your business. But I like to look at the things I'm supposed to and not supposed to look at, close up, and then give them to the audience.
Je sais que vous êtes croyant. Est-ce que vous croyez au seul jugement de Dieu?
I am a believer. You know, I was raised and born a Catholic, and even though I'm not really a Catholic, I'm still a Christian. And so that's one of the things that upsets me about my own work, is the fact that as the creator of Piss Christ, the you know, right-wing Christian groups have chosen to make me a poster boy for everything that's bad with religion, especially with Christianity. That there are people attacking Christianity, and I'm the leader of that movement. It's not true, you know. I wouldn't attack my own religion. That's my faith, you know. I believe in Christ, and that's about all I believe in. But I also believe in destiny, and I believe that He allows everything to happen. And so I'm here for a purpose, and this is it.
Vous avez dit une fois que vous photographiez des gens auxquels vous vous identifiez. Est-ce que vous aimez absolument tous vos sujets, y compris les membres du Ku Klux Klan, y compris, alors je ne sais pas, le portrait d'un ancien officier de la CIA qui est dans l'exposition à Avignon, c'est un ancien tortionnaire?
He probably was.
Et donc vous mettez sur le même plan, là encore, le tortionnaire et les victimes de la même exposition. Et vous vous identifiez à tout le monde.
I identify with everyone. I even identify with the tortured and the torturer, you know, because I had to become the torturer for this exhibition. And sometimes I felt like I was directing a movie more than taking pictures, because you know, I was shooting a lot, and then I had to edit it. And actually, speaking of torture as a movie, when I do my talk on Friday night, and I hope you all come, at the end of the talk, after I show images, I'm going to show the torture video, which is a compilation of over 60, 70 of the torture images put to music in a film form. And so, yes, I put everyone on equal footing in that sense, and maybe I even put him on a pedestal. because you know, I identify with who and what I photograph, so I try to make everyone look good.
Les photos, je le disais au début, hein, elles sont très dures. Est-ce que vous savez toujours, quand vous faites les images, ce qui est acceptable et ce qui n'est pas? Est-ce que vous avez parfois des doutes? Est-ce que vous vous posez des questions? Est-ce que vous regrettez certaines images parfois? Ou est-ce que vous en faites que finalement vous ne montrez pas?
Well, I make a lot of work I don't show because I have to edit it. My only criteria is, do I like it? You know, aesthetically, do I like the composition? Do I like the lighting? So I have I do have to edit, but eventually the criteria is, do I feel this is a good photograph? Does it tell a story, or is it you know, is it recognizable? I like to make images that pop. I like to make images that stay in your head. I like to make images that are very easy to distinguish and to read and understand. And so in a way, you know, my language, the visual language that I've developed over the years, is quite simple and direct.
Est-ce qu'en l'absence de tout jugement, vous considérez quand même que vous êtes un artiste engagé?
I'm engaged with myself and with my audience, but not in a direct way. Meaning, if I take pictures of something, it's because I'm curious about how it's going to look like in a photograph. And then I'm hoping that I find an audience of people who are also curious. And so in that way, I'm not only the artist, I'm the audience.
Vous représentez à Arles la série America que vous avez réalisée après les attentats du 11 septembre. Depuis, il y a eu l'effroyable attentat d'Orlando le 13 juin dernier. Il y a eu l'attentat le 22 mars dernier à Bruxelles. Ça, c'était vraiment 2 jours, je crois, 3 jours, alors que votre exposition venait d'être inaugurée à Bruxelles. Comment vous réagissez en tant qu'artiste à cette violence-là? Est-ce que vous avez, vous semble-t-il, un rôle à jouer?
I started the America series shortly after September 11th, and I'm in New York. I was there when it happened, you know. I started the America series because I felt we had been attacked as the enemy, and so I wanted to show who the enemy is. And I started with the obvious symbols of September 11th. 2 firemen who had been working at the World Trade Center for months and were tired and were full of dirt and sadness. You know, I feel like I captured that in those portraits. And I photographed the policeman, the policewoman, the soldier, FBI agent in a hazmat suit, an airline pilot, as well as a postal worker. And then I went on to start, you know, looking at the religions, the people, you know, a priest, a nurse, professions, and then I went to the social classes, the poor, the homeless, a woman and child on welfare. And when I asked my assistant to find me a woman and child on welfare, I said, don't find me a black family or a Hispanic family. I want a white woman and child on welfare. And they're very good-looking people. You wouldn't know they were on welfare, but they are, or they were. And so September, the America series started with these people, and then the last part of the series ended with the celebrities, with Snoop Dogg, Anna Nicole Smith, Yoko Ono, Arthur Miller, you know, B.B. King, because they're also part of America. And then finally, there's a great image of a pimp, which was used as the cover for the America book that I did with Tasha. And that's a great image, visually. But also, the pimp, it's like me, you know. You don't know if he's a good guy or a bad guy. Maybe he's a combination of both. But I identify with everyone, especially with that pimp.
Comment vous avez réagi quand il y a eu l'attentat à Bruxelles et vous étiez sur place? Comment vous avez vécu ce moment?
Well, I had a great opening at the Royal Museum a few days before the attack, and I left Irina, my wife and I went to Paris the day before the attack. But I invited several people to my exhibition, including my printer, Esteban, from New York. And he was actually at the airport returning his car downstairs in the rental area, and he was rushing because he was late. He felt he wanted to get to his plane on time. He was late. And so he was actually downstairs when the bomb went off at the airport. He missed it by a couple of minutes. And then after that, my show was canceled, as all the shows in Belgium, where all the museum shows were canceled for about a week or 10 days. You know, my work, as I said, it's sort of like me, it's going in between all these things and just resonating and you know, it's like these are dangerous times for everyone, and we're just like, you know, trying to go through the maze.
Andrés, quand on pense à votre parcours, à ce que vous êtes, finalement, on ressent d'une certaine façon pas mal de paradoxes. Vous n'êtes pas blanc dans un pays qui est majoritairement blanc, vous êtes d'origine cubaine dans un pays qui a longtemps honni Cuba. Alors, vous n'êtes plus catholique, mais enfin, vous avez été élevé dans le catholicisme dans un pays qui est majoritairement protestant. Est-ce que finalement, ce profil peut-être un peu singulier que vous avez explique la façon dont vous travaillez et les sujets que vous choisissez et ces pas de côté que vous faites par rapport à la norme toujours?
My standard is one of full of contradictions and complications, and even though things are very simple in my world, they're not so simple for other people. One of the things that I've always been upset with is because my mother was born in Key West, Florida, but she was raised in Cuba. And she didn't come to the U.S. till she was in her late 20s. I was born in New York City, but my mother didn't speak English, so I had to learn Spanish at home. You know, one time I was in school in the 6th grade, and everyone, you know, the teacher was calling each of the students one by one to ask them their nationality. So when he asked me my nationality, you know, I'm like 8 years old, I said, I'm an American. And he's like, no, where were your parents born? And I said, well, my father was born in Honduras, and my mother was born in Key West, but she was raised in Cuba. He said, oh, Cuban, that's it. And you know, no, I'm not, you know, after I went to Cuba, I was explaining to someone, well, you know, about my origin. I was born in New York City. It's the first time I went to Cuba to do this body of work, and I waited until I was 62 to go to Cuba. And a few minutes later, the guy said to me, so how was it like to go back to Cuba? Motherfucker, didn't I tell you I was born in New York and never went to Cuba? So, you know, it's what I call the Obama syndrome. When you're a person of color, you must be from over there. You're an American, but you're not really an American. You're from Kenya, you know. You're not like one of us. And so I have to say, no, I am one of you, because, you know, not only was my mother born in America, I was born in America, my daughter was born in America, and my granddaughter was born in New Jersey. So now I'm a fourth generation American, you know. But you know, people always want to believe you're from somewhere else. But when I went to Cuba, it was because I wanted to talk about Cuba. You know, when I was a kid, Russia was a bad guy, China was a bad guy, Cuba was a bad guy, and then all those other people, they're no longer bad guys. We're dealing with them, we're trading with them. So I wanted to talk about Cuba, and the intention was to do a book on Cuba. I never got a chance to do the book on Cuba. There's still interest and time. But finally, Obama went to Cuba and did what I wanted for him to do, which was to talk about Cuba and normalize relations with Cuba. And I say, I understand why he did it, and why President Obama was able to do something that no white president ever did before. And that's because Obama is a black man and Cuba is mostly black people. You know, it's a nation of mostly black people. And so as a non-white person, he had a moral obligation to go there and liberate Cuba from this, blockade.
Alors, j'en reviens à ce profil singulier que vous avez. Est-ce que vous avez le sentiment que ce soit dans votre façon finalement de proclamer votre américanité et avec la série America, dire voilà, je suis du côté de tous les Américains, et en même temps votre façon d'être toujours du côté de ceux que personne ne veut voir aux États-Unis, les sans-abri, les prostituées, que sais-je. Est-ce que vous êtes toujours dans cet entre-deux finalement, inside and outside?
I try to be. I think it's good to have the best of both worlds. Yes, I'm an American. I'm glad to, be an American artist. But I also, when I first started the America Project, I remember running into Nancy Spiro, who was a feminist political artist, and I said, "Oh, Nancy, I got a new show coming out. It's called America." And Nancy said, she said to me, "Who's America?" And I laughed and I said, "Why, my America, of course, Nancy." So yeah, it's my America, but my America is as good as anybody else's America.
Andrés, je voudrais qu'on termine cette conversation sur votre rapport à l'art. Tout le parcours de l'exposition sur la torture est ponctué dans chaque salle d'œuvres de Goya. Pourquoi était-ce aussi important? Il y a les caprices, il y a les désastres de Goya sur les gravures, c'est très très beau. C'est au moins aussi cruel que vous. Pourquoi vous avez tenu à ce qu'il y ait cette mise en miroir avec l'œuvre de Goya?
Well, I didn't do that. That was actually Eric Mazil, the director of the Collection Lambert. And Eric has a terrific sense of my work, and he's a brilliant mind. And it was a great coup for him not only to be able to say I want the Goyas, but to get them. So yeah, you got to go see the Goyas more than anything. The Goyas are amazing. And I'm very flattered to be paired with Goya because, I do have a connection with artists of the past. I always say I'm not a photographer, I'm an artist. I studied painting and sculpture at the Brooklyn Museum Art School. But, I know everything I know about art and photography through the people that I studied as a kid when I was a young art student. And the first and foremost influence for me was Marcel Duchamp, who taught me and everyone else that anything, including a photograph, could be art. And so from that premise, I've always treated photography as an art practice. And I forget what the question was.
Votre rapport à l'art, your
Oh yeah, my relationship with art is a very good one, I think. But I feel very connected to these artists of the past, especially not only Goya, Spanish artists, Velázquez, but also the religious artists, like Caravaggio, Michelangelo, Bosch, Hieronymus Bosch. And one thing we have to realize is that those guys were also controversial, Caravaggio, they say, well, you use the prostitute as the model for the Virgin Mary. Michelangelo, they put loincloths on the Last Judgment. Originally, all those people, including Jesus and Mary, were naked, and they put loincloths, they put things, they covered them. And then 500 years later, they did that right after Michelangelo died. They covered his work up. And then 500 years later, when they did the restoration, they could have taken the loincloths off, but they kept them on. So even Michelangelo is controversial.
Il y a une chromie un peu éteinte dans certaines de vos images, et ça m'a fait penser à la mort de Marat, du peintre David. Est-ce que lorsque vous démarrez une série, vous avez des références picturales en tête? Lorsque
Yeah.
vous avez, ou même cette série-là précisément, vous aviez des références?
There's a photograph in the morgue of a woman laying down with a red cloth across her face. And that is a kind of reference to, classical painting. Also, there is an image in the show at the Collection Lambert that refers to Marat Saad's death of Marat. So sometimes there are little references. Some people have said that this image of the mask, close up, that has been shown around here, looks like the face with Man Ray, the photograph of Man Ray. So sometimes there are little references. Sometimes they're conscious and sometimes they're unconscious. But I don't necessarily research or try to make direct references because I feel that's limited. But in a general way, they are references.
Et le format, vous choisissez en tous les cas dans cette exposition de très grands formats. Alors, est-ce que c'est pour inclure le spectateur dans la scène, d'une certaine façon?
Yes,
Parce que c'est quasiment à échelle humaine, finalement. Hein?
They're bigger than usual. It's a unique edition. And it's the shit size. When I did the shit work in 2008, which was also shown in the Collection Lambert, and also at Yvonne Lambert Gallery in Paris, the ship, and in New York, the ship pictures were very big. I gotta say something about shit. That's a very conceptual show. Because I was thinking of the word shit, so I did images that had titles like good shit, bad shit, bullshit, stupid shit, funny shit. It was all kind of even Freudian shit, which I got from my therapist. I was in therapy for 25 years with the same man. He was a Freudian. And toward the end of our association, when I was doing the shit show, I asked him for some shit, and he laughed, but he gave it to me. I even had some holy shit, came from a priest. I remember that said, they were upset that I was doing this, and the guy said, he's only doing it for the attention. And I'm wondering, is there anybody in their right mind who does anything and not want some credit or recognition or attention for it? It's not like you're writing, you're going to say, I'm going to write the great American novel, but I'm not going to publish it because I don't want anyone to see it, So, I'm going to paint my masterpiece, but afterwards I'm going to burn it or leave it in a warehouse until after I'm dead because I don't want anyone to see it. So this whole idea that I'm just doing it for the attention was very bizarre to me. Last thing I want to say is, just before the shit show opened in New York in 2008, at Yvonne Lambert Gallery in Chelsea, I made these stickers that said, shit is coming. And it didn't have my name, didn't have the gallery's name, but these stickers, we put them all around town, just says shit is coming. And then I made t-shirts that said shit is coming. And I gave a lot of them away, in Union Square, Tompkins Square Park, Chinatown. Made about 1,000 t-shirts, and the guys would come in with a big box, and it's funny how everybody wants some free shit, everyone's going here. It's like they don't know what it was, but they know it's free, so they want it. And a few days before my show opened in 2008, September 2008, I was walking down the street. I just got the t-shirt. I was walking down the street in Chinatown at night, and I see this lady coming toward me with her friend, and she's a black lady, and she looks at the t-shirt and she says to her friend, ain't that the truth, shit is coming. That was September 2008. A month later, in October, the real shit came, with the recession and the banks and everything crashing. And so I felt like I was talking about my shit, but there was a much bigger shit coming.
Est-ce que c'était aussi une façon de se moquer du marché de l'art, finalement, une façon de dire à vos acheteurs, vous allez acheter cher des images qui sont de la merde, au sens littéral du terme?
No, but they're not shitty pictures. That's the irony. They're
Non,
beautiful
mais il y a
pictures, you know?
il y a un glissement possible aussi.
Even the frames are amazing. They're gorgeous. You know, if you didn't know it was shit, they're very beautiful looking images, but they function as abstractions too, except they are abstractions of real things. So, I mean, that's again the nature of my work, that you can see it as a pretty picture, but then when you know what it is, it has a different meaning. So they weren't shitty pictures. In fact, they were great pictures, and they deserve more attention. But I do have a sense of humor, so it's not a bad thing to sometimes poke fun of the art world, of yourself, and of people.
Alors, dernière question, j'ai lu que vous rêviez que vos œuvres soient dans les collections du Vatican. Alors, est-ce que c'est fait ou pas encore?
It's not a dream, it's an ambition and goal. Not only does my work need to go to the Vatican collection, the Church and Pope Francis need to recognize me as a Christian artist. I need the Pope to give me his blessing and to allow me to do what religious artists of the past have done, to do some work in homage of the Church. So I need to get to the Vatican quick.
Merci beaucoup, Andrés.
Merci à vous.
Qui prendra le relais à 16h30. Il va recevoir sur la question de la guerre Yann Morvan et Alexandre Birkinger. Et demain matin à 10h30, je reçois pour ma part Charles Frégé. Voilà, à demain.